Justice Samuel Alito, the first Supreme Court justice to write a decision taking rights away from people, unless you want to count prohibition, which I guess did take some rights away, and rights that maybe should have been taken away from his colleague Kavanaugh, but I digress. The first one to take real personal individual rights away from Americans ever in the history of the Supreme Court has proven himself yet again to be the grievance-filled hate monger, the little man lacking manliness like Josh Hawley and Tucker Carlson who feel a need to pump up their masculinity. It's always these little prep school kids and it's amazing to me. The ones on the right, I went to some of these schools. It doesn't exist with people who are on the center or the left, but the ones on the right, you know, Ted Cruz going to Princeton, and I think Alito went to Princeton, and Clarence Thomas at Yale, they're empty inside. They feel weak. They feel like they need to control people. They need to control women's bodies. If you don't think that's what this is about. So Alito went to Rome and he gave a big speech. And in classic Alito style, because again, he's much like Kavanaugh and he's like Thomas, his little grievance-filled monkey, he had to strike out at all of his critics. He started lashing out at foreign leaders like Macron and Boris Johnson, recently deposed, who criticized him, making jokes about them. This, again, is Alito, who's on the Supreme Court, where numerous members of that court have decried the politicization of the Supreme Court. And he jumps headfirst into politics because he can't help himself. It's become politicized because, A, they've politicized everything and have made everything about just being Republicans in robes, taking away women's personal rights, now saying they're going to take away the right to love who you want, putting guns in everyone's hands. It's literally been like an ALEC checklist. Right? A Federalist Society checklist of every right-wing stupid decision. And then they know their answer and they come to their decision-making along the way. They make it up. In Alito's case, quoting a 17th century theologian who argued there was no such thing as marital rape because a woman was your property. Those were among the brilliant. He went back hundreds of years to find any cretin he could. And of course, either didn't read all of their writings, my guess is didn't care. He found the part where they talked negatively about abortion and forgot the parts where they said women were men's property and women could be raped if they were married, which is maybe why a 10-year-old being raped and being forced to go to another state is something that Alito doesn't think much about or care much about. He's much more interested in his grievances. How dare anyone criticize him? How dare anyone criticize the great Justice Alito and his little crayon-drawn third-grade thinking in that unbelievably stupid Dobbs decision? It's offensive enough, really. The most offensive part are women becoming second-class citizens in this country, and I'm going to tell you about something in a second that really sort of brings it home for you. But it's as offensive how he gets there, almost. Because there's literally just, you know, they don't respect precedent, right? Throw out whatever came before, who cares, and find some obscure ways to try to justify it. So Alito gave the speech in Rome, and he attacked foreign leaders. It may remind you of 2010, when President Barack Obama stood up in January 27th, I believe it was, of 2010, and gave a State of the Union and pointed out that the Citizens United decision was an abomination. It was ahistorical. It overturned hundreds of years of, at least 100 years in Montana and some other states of laws banning corporations from putting money in politics, and that it was going to open the floodgates for foreign money coming in. And Alito, the little baby, the little whining cretin, had to sit there and go and mouth to the camera that Obama was wrong. How's that worked out? How's that worked out with the Russians funneling money through the NRA to get into our elections? How's that worked out with Erdogan funneling money to people like Flynn? Of course it opened the floodgates. Of course, when you give to certain super PACs and there's people that have dual citizenship, you know, with Russia and here, and they give from their vast wealth of large companies, largely that they got control of because of their connections to Vladimir Putin, of course it taints our elections. And we know it. They give money. Those that had dual citizenship with Russia give money to every Republican entity, Mitch McConnell, super PACs, and others. Alito was wrong. Stupidly wrong. Completely wrong. He's always wrong. But he never learns. Again, that little bit inside of him, that little grievance that Tucker has and Donald Trump, and they've got to lash out and get their revenge because of their empty husks of men inside. So here you have this, what is he, 65, 70, who knows what he is, this man that will never be intellectually or emotionally mature. And what really puts that, you know, what puts into perspective is, and I want to make sure to get her name right, Addison Gardner, a 12-year-old at Buffalo Middle School, who stood up and said the kinds of things that Alito could never think of. You know, am I to suffer, I'm quoting from her, am I to suffer the mental and physical implications of another man's decision to rape me? Am I to have to destroy my body to give birth to the child of someone when I did not choose to reproduce? Again, I'm going to paraphrase her a little bit here. What, all of you out there who say you're pro-life, what about my life? That she said very clearly. She was incredible, and I would recommend you all watch this video of Addison Gardner. I wish she were on the Supreme Court. She gets that this is fascist in its very essence, and I don't use that word lightly. Her body, this little 12-year-old who lives in Buffalo, luckily in her case she lives in New York, and unless they ban abortion, you know, countrywide, which they're going to try and do, she'll be okay. But little 12-year-old, 11-year-old, your bodies belong to the state now. They belong to these peeping Toms like Clarence Thomas, who used to make porn jokes at work and call himself Long Dong Silver, and Brett Kavanaugh, who's been credibly accused of sexual assault, and used to go around with, you know, Squiddy and PJ and other group of losers like himself and get blackout drunk and do God knows what. These men have decided they control your body. Addison Gardner has no control, and she knows it. If some man overpowers her and impregnates her, Alito steps in the room and says, "Nuh-uh, we control you. The fact that I've got a 2-inch penis and I'm insecure and that I probably got rejected on dates at Princeton and I'm angry at women and I have to control them, I got you now, Addison. I control you. I can tell you what to do with your body and when. You didn't want to have a child. You don't want to go through the physical trauma that all women's bodies, but a 12-year-old's body especially, will go through of giving birth, and the mental trauma of giving birth to the child of your rapist or a family member that molested you. No. The state controls you." These Republicans that talk about big government, what an absolute joke. I mean, this is Handmaid's Tale kind of stuff. This is fascism. These are women that will have zero control over their body in at least 50% of this country. And they will have to have an underground railroad, which already exists, to sneak out and go exercise the right to control their body. It's sickening. It's sickening that it happened. It's sickening that Addison Gardner has to get up and give such an incredibly eloquent speech for a 12-year-old, that she's not thinking about her grades in school. She mentions it at some point, or playing volleyball or going out with her friends or doing anything that she loves to do, but she has to worry that this could happen to her, and then the state will step in and take control of her body. And it's sick that someone like Justice Alito, I hesitate to use the word, let's call him Injustice Alito, and Clarence Thomas, and this rogues gallery of insecure little men, angry little men, are the ones who made this decision, along with the Ted Cruzes and the Josh Hawleys and the Tucker Carlsons and the Donald Trumps, all pathetic, insecure little men. So go to hell, Alito. And as far as I'm concerned, congratulations. You're incredible, Addison Gardner. You speak for all of us, and hopefully we'll give you your control back of your body and your life back. You deserve that. You deserve more than Justice Alito.